Hey everybody, welcome to the Sunday Slowdown at J&J Acres. This is our little part of thehomesteadnetwork.com. So if you stumbled over our live feed and you're wondering what is this all about, we're a little family farm. We like to homestead, garden, raise our meat, and hunt, and all sorts of fun things like that. Jennifer homeschools, and I don't know, just all sorts of kind of self-reliant types of topics. So if that's something that interests you, then you might want to head over to thehomesteadnetwork.com and read about all the different YouTube channels that are participating in the live video feeds. You can just about watch live YouTube videos from homesteading, prepping related channels every day of the week, and for most days, many hours of the day. So make sure you check them out. Here on our show, we like to talk about things that have happened during the last week, and then again what is going to be coming up in the next week, taking your questions and answers all along the way. So if you'd like to ask a question, either about something that you have already seen on the channel, something that you have a question about that you haven't seen for a long time, or just anything related to homeschooling or homesteading in general, please type them in all capital letters so that Jennifer can notice them, and she will pipe that question over to me or field it herself if it's more her forte, and we'll answer your questions as quickly as we can. So, what a day.
Oi. It was fun though.
It was fun.
My sweet husband took me out on a date today.
We did. We got out of the house, went and saw a movie, and
it was a pretty good movie. I had a hard time keeping up with it, but it was pretty good.
Went out and ate lunch, brought dinner home for the kids so we didn't have to make dinner. So it was a good day. It was a good day. So.
And we still got some stuff done around the farm.
We did. We'll have to tell that story. There's not any kind of video on it now, maybe in the future, but you would have missed all of the initial stuff because we just got it done today.
And it was in the dark, so it wouldn't have been a very good video anyway.
So I'm sure
we saw Inferno today.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm sure the question is going to be, what movie did you see?
Yeah.
We went and saw Inferno, based on the Dan Brown novel.
He's a really big Dan Brown fan. He's got every single book and sits on pins and needles for the next one to come out. And believe me, we already know the next book coming out, and he's already on pins and needles for it.
But the catch that comes with that is, and I'm sure many of you book readers out there have experienced this, where you were a fan of an author or of a series or of a character long before it ever became a movie. And then when it became a movie, all these other people jumped on the bandwagon, and you're sitting there going, yeah, well, I knew him when. And that's how I feel about it.
Or you're sitting there going, yeah, it was a good movie, but you really should read the book.
Yeah. Well, that's always the case. But Dan Brown, if you're interested in his kind of writing, the trick you left and right, you don't know what's coming next kind of mystery novel, that's based on actual places around the world and has an overabundance of truth in it with just enough fiction to keep you guessing on where the truth and where the fiction is.
Yeah.
You really do need to go back to the beginning. His book Deception Point is an excellent novel, and I'm trying to look around. I don't remember where I've got them all stashed since we rearranged the office. I think they might be back up in a closed cabinet.
They're right there, except for Brandon's got one of them.
Okay, well, anyway, really good books. I mean, I know when he started getting into Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code and the Lost Symbol, and it was a lot more religious and things like that, a lot of people kind of got turned off by it, even though those were the novels that got recognized by Hollywood. But he had novels that have never been turned into movies that are excellent little mystery thrillers. So, But anyway, that is not what we're here. Jared, you said
the movie was good.
Jared, you said this was a homesteading channel. Yeah, you started to sound like Rotten Tomatoes. Come on, Siskel and Ebert. Which one are you? All right, folks. So let's talk a little bit about what videos you saw last week. Last week, oh goodness, I don't have it pulled up. How did I do that? this is what happens when you get in a rush. Normally, we have everything set up about a half an hour before we begin the show.
But we were too busy out in the deer field today.
Yeah. Shush.
No.
You're getting ahead. We want them to watch and listen and participate, and if they stick around long enough, then they get the secrets.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm dropping hints. So now that...
All right.
So, I didn't tell them.
All right. Earlier this week, you saw the winter planting that we're doing. I'm going to do that in our tower garden. So there have already been some changes to that. We were at the store and saw several plants that we were interested in, and bought a flat, well, not a flat, but, excuse me, bought a packet of broccoli plants. Mm-hmm. And so I went back into the Greenstock Tower Garden, and in a couple of the pockets, there's 30 pockets altogether, and in a couple of the pockets where either there was very low germination or no germination, I pushed the soil aside, made room for the broccoli plant. So
I love broccoli, but every time we've tried to plant broccoli, it either doesn't grow, or the one time it did grow, it kind of went straight from, I think I'm going to do it, I think I'm going to do it, I think I'm going to do it, to too late.
The best we ever had broccoli do on the property was, there was one video where I tried to demonstrate the bag method of gardening, which is really nothing more than buying a bag of garden soil at the store, popping a few holes in one side, flipping it over, cutting little X's, and then planting directly into the potting soil. And I planted that, and one of the pigs got loose.
Yep.
And tore it to smithereens. And that's why you never ever saw that garden again, because it got ate.
Yep.
But anyway, we also got a parsley plant. Jennifer likes parsley very much, and we had a parsley plant before, but parsley is biennial, which meant that it lasted for one summer. We planted it in the spring, it lasted one summer, it overwintered, then it kept growing all that winter, came back the next, or what would have been this spring,
right,
put out seed, and now is died off. So it was time to get another parsley plant. So we did that. We did not save seed from the first one. It was honestly quite neglected.
Yeah, it was.
It sat in one of those cat litter buckets that you've seen in like the arbor videos that I did a long time ago.
But every time I walked by it, I was sitting there eating off of it. I mean, it wasn't like... It
was actually, it being neglected is how I learned that parsley and most herbs do so well in the shade.
Yeah.
Because I stuck it over in an area that's total shade, and noticed that it just kept growing, and that led me to do some more research on it.
Never did anything to it. It just left it alone.
So anyway, so that's what's going on with the Greenstock Tower Garden. For the sake of it, those folks did reach out to me and let me know that they are doing a Kickstarter campaign. So if you're interested in that kind of a tower garden, but you found that it was a little more expensive than what you would like to spend, which the Greenstock is generally less expensive than most of the tower gardens out there anyway, but you can go to their Kickstarter, and they're doing specials to get people to buy into their Kickstarter campaign as well. So.
And we love it because it spins, and it's got those really deep pockets, and there's a tray that you can buy that you can. It's got wheels that you can move it across. Now, we didn't get that because the way we built our back deck,
it's slats, so there wouldn't have been anything to roll on you to get the wheels stuck.
Exactly, so we didn't buy that, but you can, and we just love the darn thing.
Those deep pockets really do. I'm really impressed by them. In the video, I mentioned just briefly about the lemongrass and the thyme, and I don't know the right way to describe it, because I want to say that the roots went way down into the pocket, and the roots were able to hold the soil together, but it wasn't because the roots were root bound.
Right.
You know, so it's hard. I don't want to give the wrong impression there, but it gave the roots the space that it needed to grow. and the transplanting of those plants went smooth. There was no trouble with it whatsoever.
And what's more is we've had bad luck on our property with strawberries, and up until it got too hot for the strawberries being up on that deck, they thrived.
Yeah,
I had more strawberries on that thing than we've ever had on this property before, and then on top of that, one of them survived.
Yeah, actually the pineberry, the one that's white with the red looking seeds, is the one that is still has leaf. So now whether or not any of the other roots survived, I didn't disturb them in case they'll overwinter. But the pineberry still has the leaves on, so we'll just have to see where that goes. But I'll tell you something, if you decide to grow strawberries, get your scissors ready and expect to cut back the runners that the strawberries shoot out. Because of the way that this tower garden is, if you were to think about it, it's a very large container, and the only reason it's really separated into these pockets, the only thing that really makes it separate into these pockets is the container that's above it.
Yeah.
Which is then just offset by one section.
So the strawberries literally take over the entire level.
So that, yeah, they send out runners. You'll have a pocket. Let's say you're facing the tower garden and there's a pocket right in front of you. It will send out runners through the tower to another pocket on the other side. So it's not like they just drape over the edge like a spider plant or something like that. It knows that there's soil going this way and goes out or finds a pocket over at this corner or that corner.
It'll find the sunlight in the other pockets.
Yeah, so unless you really want to keep up with how many...
you'll end up with an entire level just strawberries.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. Alright, so the bat house was another video that we shared. That was pretty exciting to see that the bats are in there. We had a lot of people guess that there were 7 bats. And that's a very fair guess because I could not figure out a good way to give you a better view. When I stand under the bat house and shine a light up into it, I can see more than 7 bats. But when I try to get the camera in just the right spot and shine it, or the really clear picture that you saw was a raw picture file that I edited the exposure of to be able to show you any kind of bats in there at all. But I think there's about a dozen that I can see, because everything that you saw in that video, that line of 7 or possibly 8 bats, there's a little bump that kind of makes you think there's maybe one right next to one of the bats. Everything you see there is at the very bottom of the nest. So you're talking about this over a foot tall nest, and these guys are all right here, right at the bottom. So I don't know way up inside just how many bats there are.
And if you remember when we had the umbrella over the pool, there were 3 little itty bitty bats in there, but at one point in time, 2 of the bats were so far on top of one of them, you couldn't tell there were 3 bats in there.
Yeah. So what I can tell you is that this bat house, when they sell it to you, they say it's rated to hold 100 bats. I do want to give a shout out, like I did in that video, to Big Bear Homestead. They were the ones who were able to identify for us that these are large brown bats. He works with bats. He's licensed to extract bats and things like that, and because of the amount of experience he had with it, even my poor videos were allowing him to make that positive identification. So
awesome.
Yeah, so
that's good to know.
It's good to know what we got there. So now the plan, like I said in the video, is just to leave them alone. We'll wait until after the cold weather goes so we can take a better look.
Now, sorry. Will they over... You're going to make me start yawning.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Are they going to overwinter in our bat house?
According to what I read about the species, they could or they might not. Sometimes the bats will go from a summer home to a winter home. However, in our deep climate, in our very southern climate, it may stay warm enough that they don't go anywhere. So now that's not to say that they migrate from the north to the south. That's to say they usually find better shelter. So instead of You know, the bat house kind of mimics the like an empty tree or the bark of a tree or something like that. But
so the fact that it's in direct sunlight might
right.
keep them warm enough through the winter that they
Yeah.
might stay there.
Yeah. So I mean, I might peek up there with that flashlight and just to go, yep, still a bat, and walk away. But I'm not going to be out there for 20 minutes trying to shoot video and take pictures and disturb them. I want them to feel safe and warm and at home.
Yeah.
So anyway, all right. So
Are
the
they
question
are they
simply,
cave type bats?
they will dwell in caves, yes. That's not the only place that they will dwell, but some of the reading that I have done, not any experience that I have, but some of the reading that I have done, says that they will leave the forest and go to the caves over winter, because the caves stay a more steady temperature, not so much of a temperature swing. 30 degrees at night, 60 degrees in the day, kind of a thing.
Okay.
So we'll just have to see.
There you go.
So the first question about the bats was wanting to hear more about the bats. I hope that answered your question or your desire. If you had anything more specific, let me know and we'll address that as well. So, and then the other video is about late season tomatoes. It's pretty standard fare around here. As I understand it, up north, it may be that either it stays cool enough that your tomatoes grow the entire summer, or a little bit further south they might stop growing around July, and by the time you run out of that very hot weather, cold weather comes too quickly, and so there's no second round of tomatoes for you. But then when you get all the way down to us, it gets too hot in the middle of the summer for the blooms to set, and then when it starts to cool off again, we get another flush of tomatoes. So this was kind of neat. My question here was simply, do you think these tomatoes will ripen or do you think they will not? And asked you to give up and down votes. So right as this minute, the thumbs up are 55 and the thumbs down are 42. So not to sound too much like a presidential election poll, but right now the ayes have it. The ayes are saying that the tomatoes will ripen.
Suburban Hillbilly thinks that they'll ripen too.
Awesome. I'm giving them a pretty good chance too, because I know we're going to have at least 2 more weeks without any frost. I did go out there and cheat. I went back out there after that video and trimmed them up, so there's no blooms anymore. It's just the tomatoes that are already there. I took off a majority of the extra foliage. Any of the vine that wasn't going to a tomato is gone. So,
and then he watered it.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll just have to see from here. I did everything I could to cheat and make sure that the thumbs ups win. I'm just saying, I'm there. Got your back.
He just wants that really, really fresh tomato sandwich.
I love them. I mean, just 2 slices of bread, a couple slices of nice thick sliced maters. I'm talking about, you better not go lower than a 1/4 inch. Give me a good thick sliced mater and some mayonnaise, and I'm gonna make it. I mean, that's survival food. I don't care who you are. That'll get you by. All right. What are you shaking your head about? I know how much you love tomatoes. You love them. You love them in spaghetti sauce. You love them in ketchup. You love them in... This is the only person I know.
Add sugar.
Yeah. She doesn't like a ripe, fresh tomato, but put it in something that is processed.
Let's clarify that. I've never
Okay.
actually really had a ripe, fresh tomato.
I'm pretty sure you have. Pretty sure you have.
Have I?
Pretty sure you have.
Okay.
Anyway, all right. So that's it for the videos that we've done this week, and some further information behind them. What else?
Dukes or
happened?
Hellman's mayonnaise.
Oh, Dukes. Dukes. Where do you live, boy? I like Hellman's too, but Dukes is much better. If it's about to frost, you can pull them. Yeah, so one of the tricks people were saying is, hey, look, they're tomatoes. You can always bring them inside and ripen them. Whether you bring the entire plant inside, hang them upside down, or just bring in the tomatoes and put them on a windowsill. I know they can. And I'll still do that, but I want to see if I can get them to ripen on the vine. And I know that if all I'm going to have is a light frost one night and the temperature is going to go back up, I know I can cover them. And maybe I will. But the question is, just in general, will they make it? And I think because of the stupid weather we're having right now, they probably will.
Probably. So. You know, we calculated it, and it hasn't really given us a really good rain in almost 3 months.
It's crazy. We got desperately dry.
We got one spit on us maybe, a week, 2 weeks ago. And that's it. That's all we've had in almost 3 months now.
If you follow us on Facebook, then there was one time where you saw me post sweet, glorious rain. And it drizzled for a good 15 minutes. And I was in heaven about it. I literally sat out on the back deck and just got drenched in the rain.
The whole time. So did the kids.
It was wonderful. And then nothing since. I mean, it was that kind of a drenching rain that you wish you got once a week. And we haven't seen it again since.
Nope. Not even in the forecast.
No. All right, so what else have we been doing that isn't making the videos? Well, I have spent a lot of time last weekend and this weekend working on smoothing out what used to be the squash garden. That's the easiest way to describe what area I'm talking about. So I've been over there with the tractor implements, getting it as level as I know how. And I am confident that there are other people out there that can do a much better job than what I've been able to accomplish.
And believe me, it has made hell for the vehicles that we keep driving. Yeah. He's kicking up all kinds of dust and making it impossible to keep my van clean.
Yeah, you can just imagine. We told you how little rain we've had. It's just bone dry soil. It's terrible. I don't know whether or not I moved the dirt or blew it away.
Anymore. It's dust.
Yeah.
We live in a dust bowl now.
Yeah. But it's got to get done. That area's got to get leveled out so I have a good place to put all of my implements. And I think that I've got it as level as I'm going to be able to get it with my skill and the tools that I have at hand. And now I'm ready to put some sand down, a good layer of sand, and then a good layer of gravel for the rock bed. And then we're going to construct some kind of a shelter over the top of it. So that's something to look forward to in the future, but that's kind of where that project stands. Something I've been spending a lot of time working on, but I'm not confident with myself yet in trying to do something like level land. So I'm not going to do a video about me leveling land, which turns into be like a 3-hour episode of me trying 2 or 3 different implements and seeing which one's going to get me the result I'm looking for.
Which is essentially what he's doing.
That's what I've been doing, but I'm pretty happy with how it is right now, and now it's time to put in the sand and put in the gravel and start moving onwards and upwards. So. And
then the next project that I'm getting on him about doing is cleaning out the carport where we've been keeping the rabbits, which we no longer have, so that I can start parking my brand new van in there so we can protect that from the trees and from the sun and try to protect that investment.
Yep. So, oh, mercy. Lots of projects going on. Now, let's see. What else have we done? Other than what happened tonight, I want to mention that last. So, is there anything else you can think of that projects?
Your Cloverfield didn't pop up because we haven't been getting any rain.
The Deerfield Cloverfield or the backyard?
The backyard Cloverfield.
Yeah, well, yeah, the Cloverfield you all saw me plant after the pigs were moved. Right where the pigs were, where the pigs' mud holes were, that area is germinating, and there is a sprinkler on there, and it is getting watered at least every other day. But where the dirt was really hard and compacted in the first place, where it was already like a walking path before, the seed didn't take there at all. No. Probably should have roughed up the dirt a little bit, or put some hay over it or something, but we just didn't do that. But now there is a substantial, I would say maybe half of the area is starting to germinate, and so maybe with luck it'll just keep spreading like we talked about. I got that specific breed or cultivar of so that it would spread because it produces so much seed. So,
and there's some sort of a squash or something that keeps trying to pop up that you wanted to let it go ahead and
Well, that's just the nature when you feed your leftovers to your animals,
yeah.
and then you take the animals out of that area, things grow. There is some kind of a curcubit. I don't know if it is a pumpkin or a cucumber or what, but there's some kind of a curcubit coming up all over the place. And I said, why not? Let it grow. Well, if nothing else, it's going to be organic material to go back into the soil if it dies off before the first frost. I mean, I don't know of any curcubit that will grow after the frost hits. So I don't think we're going to get anything from it, but I wasn't going to go out there and weed it either. Let it grow, let it penetrate the soil, let it do all that kind of good stuff. So it's kind of interesting, though, to see it coming up. And we have fed those pigs so many different things that I couldn't possibly even guess what kind that it is. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And the y'all have seen this video before, not this year, but last year, I want to say, with the everybody was calling them cucamelons. We never ever planted anything called a cucamelon, or that is related to it, or that looks like it, or anything as such. Somewhere, somehow, we had a cross occur on our property, or somebody else brought in a seed, or a bird brought in a seed, or something, and it is every stinking where now. Every stinking where. And so now
it's places where we never had animals.
Yeah, and I'm having the kids pick it and find it and pick it and take it to the pig. So that new pig area, heaven help us when we take the pigs out of there, it's going to turn into a curcubit mess.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what else to say it, but all right. Anything else that we've done over this last week? Nothing comes to mind. We've still been doing more of that spring cleaning we told everybody about last week.
I took the kids to Taekwondo this week.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what did we do tonight? Well, while Jennifer and I were out on the town, she had a thought about how, it's not just the plants that are needing water, but so are all the animals.
We drove past a neighbor's house that they have this massive lake on their property, and I noticed that they're missing a ton of it. I mean, it's like more than half empty.
This is a neighbor that raises goats, meat goats mostly for butchering.
So it's like a huge lake.
Yeah.
And it's almost empty.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of times where you think about how you're going to get something accomplished, and you have enough common sense to sit there and think about what do you have on your property that can help you to accomplish this. And if you can't think of anything, then you find a way to procure or purchase it. Mm-hmm. Well, in trying to think about how to water the deer field, it never once occurred to me that we had two huge livestock troughs that we weren't using.
We got one because we had little bitty chickens that we were trying to raise, and you wanted something that didn't have corners in it, so
right.
That's why we got the big one.
Right, we were using it as a brooder, and like you say, because it doesn't have corners, the ducks wouldn't get stuck in a corner. So even if somebody got in the bottom of the pile, they could work their way out of the pile just by following the edge. They wouldn't end up in a corner and get stuck somewhere.
Right.
It actually really works, really well. It's a very expensive brooder to think about using a stock tank as a brooder, but it really works.
Yeah, it does. And then the smaller one, which is 70 gallons smaller.
Yeah, so the big one is 170 gallons and the smaller one is 100 gallons.
We bought specifically for my horse that got hit by a car last year.
Yeah. So here were these two stock tanks that we weren't even thinking about.
That we weren't using.
And so what we started today is right as the sun was setting, because we had to find one of the stock tanks somehow was missing its plug.
The one that we used for the birds, because we didn't. You don't want the plug in the stock tank with the birds, because if it happens to somehow gather water, you don't want the birds to drown.
Right. So what we ended up doing is taking the small tank and strapping it in a way to the front end loader of the tractor and filled it with water. And then we took the 170 gallon tank, strapped it onto the back of the tractor. The box blade was on the back of the tractor, so we put it on top of the box blade, strapped it down.
Empty.
Just for the sake of transportation. It was empty. And went to the deer field. And so now we took the 170 gallon one and put it on the ground, and it is situated in a way where it is on the it's a very slight slope in that deer field, but it is on the upper end of the slope so that gravity can feed water down. It has a valve on it now so that we could attach a garden hose or something to it and let water out of the tank. So in other words, I can water the deer field if I need to spray some water out there. Mm-hmm. And what actually worked, and this is probably against every safety code out there, which thankfully we don't have to worry about that because it's our property, our equipment.
Yeah.
But that 100-gallon tank on the front of the front end loader, strapped on with ratchet straps.
Mind you, cross-strapped.
Right, they're cross-strapped so there's less wiggle room left or right. I can dump the bucket and dump that entire tank into the other tank. So we're using the 100-gallon tank to fill the 170-gallon tank. And I would say we probably got, well, let's see, 170 gallons divided by 2 would be 85 gallons.
Probably about that.
So I would say we got, out of that 100-gallon tank, because we didn't really fill it up to the brim.
And then we did spill a lot of it.
Yeah, well, I spilled a lot of it driving the tractor around, going up and down
well,
hills.
not just that, but trying to...
Yeah, the first time trying to finesse the bucket into the other container and dump the water. Yeah. I would say we got about 85 gallons, and so just 2 trips and we can fill that and have 150 gallons worth of water out there. The question will come, how much do the deer make use out of it and use it up enough that we don't have to worry about something like mosquitoes? Or if we need to worry about mosquitoes, what are we going to do about it then? There's the option, of course, of putting some mesh material across the top, like window screening across the top. But if we do that, then obviously there's no way for the deer to drink it. It would just turn into a water holding tank. There's also the option of, since it does have a spout on it, going to some kind of and I don't know what the right term for these things is, but I call them a cattle bobber. You ever seen those waterers that cattle can, or even horses, can bump their nose into and it splashes some water up at them, but doesn't let mosquitoes or anything get down into it? We could maybe gravity feed one of those, or something like that if we really want to keep livestock, or not livestock, wildlife in water.
Yeah.
But I'm excited about the idea of being able to hook up a hose to it and sprinkle some water around.
And the nice thing is they have to walk by the camera in order to get to it, and then walk by the camera again to get away from it. Yeah. So we'll have a pretty good idea of whether or not they're drinking from it.
Yep. So that was kind of the big thing today. So now we have taken measures to get water out to the deer field and have water out there. It's just about impossible. If you saw the video of Brandon learning to drive the tractor up and down the hills, that's probably the best video to go look at to understand the elevation change, because Brandon starts up by the shed where the pigs are, and that's the last water source on the property. That's where the last spigot is.
It's where we filled it.
And then you got to go down a hill, up a hill that's kind of got it has a terrace in it, so there's 2 little levels to it.
That's the steepest one.
Yeah, and then it's not flat, but it's much more of a straightaway to get to the deer field from there. So all in all, it's about 700 to 800. I haven't actually taken my wheel measure out there and done it, but I have looked on Google Earth and used a measuring tape on Google Earth, and it's about 700 to 800 feet from that last spigot to where the deer field is, which is why we haven't done something like, we'll just go buy some hose. I mean, because even if you buy the lightweight $20 hose for $100, or 100-foot hose for $20,
We've talked about it.
You still need 7 of those things, so you're still talking about $140 plus tax, $150 worth of hose, of bad hose, just to try to get water out there. And I don't even really know with our water pressure how well we would actually get water that far.
Especially not with that dip.
Yeah, I don't know if it would happen or not. I really don't know.
We'd be sitting there twiddling our thumbs for quite a while, too.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so to go back a half a story, there was a question about the brown bats and whether or not they carry rabies. I honestly have no clue. I have no idea. The dangerous part of bats is their feces, and I do have some ideas right now. The feces are just dropping straight down into a swale, but I have some ideas on how I would collect the guano, which is the bat manure, the feces. And it's some really simple ideas, really, and be able to use that over in a compost pile or something like that. So really the idea is don't let it accumulate in one spot where somebody could accidentally become exposed to it. The bats don't land on people and bite them and infect them with rabies or something like that. You've got to get in the poo. So if we can avoid that, then I don't think there's going to be a problem.
And of course, all of our animals have had their rabies shots. Every single one of the animals that we bring onto our property, our cats and our dogs and everything, all get their rabies shot as soon as they come into the house. Yeah. So it's not like we're worried about them getting it.
Yeah. We got another question here about canning. Do we do any canning? Jennifer has done some canning in the past with church groups and friends. I've never done any canning. We do not currently own any usable canning equipment. It is something that we're interested in getting into, but really it's kind of like a keep the horse in front of the cart kind of thing. First we need to produce enough vegetables to really use them in canning. I don't want to go and spend, because if we get into canning, I'm buying the good stuff. I want to buy that, and now I'm can't even think, was it called All American, the one that's there's one that is all aluminum. It doesn't have any gaskets or seals. It's just that well routed out. I want to get that, and it's not cheap, and all those kind of things. Anyway, it's expensive to get in it the first time, and I don't want to do that and find out that I didn't even produce enough vegetables to make it worth my time to try to can. So there you go.
Have we considered running PVC out onto the field?
No.
That would be extremely expensive.
Well, not really, because I mean you're talking about PVC. I don't even know what the right number is, but let's say it runs you. It's less than $3 for 10 feet worth of it.
Oh, okay.
And a can of PVC cement gets you through the whole project. Okay. I've got a subsoiler. I can dig a hole, and our freeze level is only 12 inches underground. So could it be done? It could be done. But the reason I'm not ready for it is it all goes through the woods, and it would go through one area that is a runoff ditch, and all those kind of things. So
and that hill would be hell.
Well, I mean PVC bends.
Yeah.
But I just see it being a lot more difficult. Do I want to do it at some point? Yeah, probably at some point. But I think we need to do some more clearing and planning of what's going to happen with that wooded area. I mean, there's...
We'd have to fix that culvert.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different things. But yeah. Have I considered it? Obviously, I've thought about it. But it's never been a possible plan that I'm actually going to pursue.
Not something he's ever talked to me about.
Yeah, that's how far off in my mind it was. All American is the right name of that brand. Okay. So yeah, I've looked at them before, and I thought that if I was going to get into canning, that would be the kind of canner I would get. It just seems to be the more precision-made instrument, and I like precision-made instruments. So.
And a Presto. Any news on the trespassers?
Never saw him again.
Never heard about them again. Nothing.
Nope. Nope. Oh, I haven't showed my video yet.
No, yeah.
I can't believe I got past last week and into this week without showing the videos. Okay.
Yeah, we got 20 minutes worth too.
All right. I got some videos to show you. The first one here is the deer lick experiment that we're doing right now, the deer taste test. So I want to show this to you, and there's something that's kind of funny about it, and it's a short clip. I edited it to be a short clip, so I'm going to bring it up and I'm just going to talk over it while it keeps looping around. So you tell me, you went out and spent $60 on deer licks, and the first time you get a good video of the deer actually licking at the bricks, you have 3 deer licking on 3 different bricks. How are you going to make a conclusion at the end of this this test? So you can see we have one doe up front licking on the sugar beet brick, and then in the back there right now you have a fawn and a doe licking on the salt block. But if you watch right here, that fawn's going to go over and start licking on the mineral block as well. So right now we have all 3 licking on 3 different ones. Oh, mercy me. I hope that over the season they make a better determination. Or, you know what, the other way of looking at that is, if they keep licking on just those 3, then we'll know that the other 4 are not preferred, and we can kind of do a process of elimination kind of thing. So anyway, that's the first really good video I had where the deer spent a lot of time licking on the bricks and the blocks. So there you have that. That's the first one there. I am still leaning towards that they are going to like the plain salt. That's not a determination. That's a hypothesis at best. Is that there's something about just the plain salt that's kind of like putting out a big sugar cube for humans. I think they're going to like that, whether it's the best thing for them or not. I don't know, but
I think it's going to be one of the flavors.
You think so?
I think so.
Time will tell.
I think they're going to choose their favorite flavor.
Yeah. I think we'll see some more results when we get some water in the area and a little bit of those minerals get down into the wood and into the ground. Because one thing I have noticed is that they like to go around and nibble at the ground more than they seem to care to actually get it right off the brick. Mm-hmm. Which is true. I've had people tell me that the blocks and the bricks are for our convenience, that the deer would rather you just spread it out on the ground, let it soak in. And from what I've seen on video, I have more video of them nibbling around the edges of the wood down in the dirt than I do of them on the blocks or on the bricks. Mm-hmm. So interesting to think of. Alright, so this next one is a montage of different videos from the same trail camera where a bunch of different animals came in the field. So this has been remastered and is going to be a video that comes out next week on the channel. When it comes out on the channel, there'll be a lot of text so people know what they're really looking at. For you guys tonight, you'll get the voice narration instead. So again, this is about a 4-minute video. We'll let it cycle through twice so that you can try to catch everything. I'll tell you, the very first video starts with a bird flying in, so keep an eye out. Alright, so there it is. That's a female cardinal, just flew into the screen there, and yeah, it's neat because it's rare that I see them fly in. Get tons of birds on the camera, but rare to see them fly into the area. All right, so here, keep watching. Did you see it? Did you see the ninja? There was you see the shadow of a tree there? There was a squirrel, activated the camera by climbing up the tree. Now in this video, just watch how funny this squirrel is. It's like it's stalking the salt blocks. There's actually some birds back behind it, which I think is maybe more why it's behaving this way. But it will get down on the ground and kind of like low crawl and bob its head around. looking at everything. And there's a couple little spots where it's more funny than in others, where it's just there. He just squatted his butt as far down as it would go, and he's dodging around looking at it. And these are the things that either drive you insane or help you pass your day when you're sitting out there in the field waiting for the deer to come, and instead all you have to look at is a squirrel. And at least if it acts funny like this one was doing, then maybe you can at least be entertained for a few minutes and let the time pass. But he gets a few licks on the salt block here, and after a couple minutes he all but attacks the darn thing and finds out that it's not exactly, well, that there's no traction. He finds out how slick it is. So let's just keep watching him here for a second. I thought I edited most of this out. At most, this is a 2-minute video. It can't be very long. It only records 2-minute videos on the deer camera anyway. So let's see what Mr. Squirrel's going to do here. Oh, Alan, Alan. Well, I guess maybe we should have done a video about what salt blocks the squirrels like more, because that one, oh, there he goes.
And the raccoons.
Yeah. I think that's the first time I've seen an animal over there. I mean, he's going to town. Look at him. He's tearing that thing up.
He loves that one.
That's the apple. Okay, this is what I said. I should have been a dove hunter. Look at that.
How many can you count?
How many dove do you see in that video? Mercy. And this is one of the videos I have of the field covered in dove. Yeah, I mean, they're looking kind of plump too. I mean, I've never hunted dove before, but man, I can see why people would. Look at them. And
I counted 10 the other day.
You did?
Yeah.
The only thing I can think about whenever I see these dove out there is that is all the seed that never germinated because we didn't get any darn rain.
Yep.
And they're just eating up my clover seed or my brassica seed and trying to ruin my deer season for the rest of the year. Alright, here we go.
There's Bambi.
So this video is called Leave My Butt Alone.
And Feline.
If you notice when the video first started, that deer was eating down at the bottom of the log in the dirt. That's what I'm used to seeing in these videos. Alright, now watch this. Watch that fawn up right behind the bricks. Get out of my butt. Mom just kind of gets a little too close and makes the fawn jump away. Now this is a great reason. This is one of those reasons why I love having the video more than just having, 1, 3, or even 8 shots, because you miss stuff like this. Just watching them jump around and play, frolic around out there. And there we go. We're back to the cardinal flying in. But I think that's kind of great, is getting to see them behave. When you have the deer camera and it's just taking pictures, you see that they were there.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have the camera, there goes the squirrel up the tree again. When you have the video camera set up, you get to see how they behave.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that much more interesting and fun to watch and fun to look at, and a good reason to walk 1,000 feet into the woods to grab up some trail cam.
Now I really am surprised you haven't switched the other cameras to video mode yet.
Well, and this gets a pretty good bit of video. I don't know why I would.
Well, at least the ones on the other side of the field.
Yeah. If you look right now, and because I know it's there, it's easy for me to see. But the blocks, the 2 far right blocks, the yellow one and the brown one to the right of it, if you look at the gap between those two and then look straight up, there's a tree, the larger trunked tree there, And just a little ways up that tree, you'll see what looks like a knot in the tree. That's the other deer camera that's in the back of the field. And it rarely gets any pictures, but it can get some pictures when the deer come to the field from back there, because the camera where this one is won't get activated from that far away. So if they barely come into the field and then go back into the woods, then the camera way in the back there will catch them. But if they come all the way in the middle of the field, then the one that takes pictures that's right where this camera is takes a much better looking picture because it can see more of the field. So I mean, I'm all for buying like 6 more of these trail cameras and just completely smother the area, but
I don't mind that. Maybe next hunting season.
I was really disappointed though. I went to look, I told people before that I was interested in buying the
solar panels.
The solar panels, and I found one guy who rigged up his own. But the company itself, Browning, who makes these cameras, which you can find a link to down in our video description there, what they sell is an extra battery pack. So it's another thing you strap onto the tree that holds more AA batteries that is then plugged into the trail camera so that it can take more pictures over a longer time before you have to put in more batteries. Now, there's 2 ways to fix that. You can have rechargeable AA batteries that are then being recharged by a inverter that is run off of a solar panel. So you still accomplish the goal of not having to buy new batteries all the time. Or there's this guy who had a fairly ingenious way of plugging in a solar panel to a battery. So the solar panel trickle charges the battery that goes into a 12 volt, I forget what the right term for it is, but it makes sure that it only puts out 12 volts. And then that was wired into the same kind of a plug that was sold by the company to go into the game camera. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Right now I'm actually still pretty surprised. This is the 3rd week in a row that we've had this video camera running. And I think when we first put the camera out there, it was at like 70% battery, and it's now down to 50% battery. And that's not bad. I think about every week I get about a dozen 2-minute long videos to watch, so that's not too terrible.
That's what else we did. Tell everyone about the present I brought home for you this week.
Oh, so I think y'all have seen that enough. It's back onto the bird, so I'll get rid of that for you. So I came home and Mrs. J had bought me a really nice deer blind, a ground blind. What amounts to a very nice pop-up tent. So it's, and when I say that, you've seen the pop-up tents before that are kind of like those car visors where you can fold them in on itself and you literally let go and it pops up. It's not cheap like that. This is more like a collapsible tent or like a collapsible awning. I don't know a better way to explain that. It's huge. It's 6 foot by 6 foot on the inside. Says it can fit up to 3 people.
Feels like it could fit like 5.
Yeah, well, I mean, probably fit 5 people just sitting in it.
Yeah.
But when
not
you're talking,
hunting.
Yeah, not with weapons and swinging around trying to be quiet and whatever else.
Right.
But it's
Thank you, Wee Tree. I'm an awesome wife.
Darn right. It's got windows everywhere. All of the windows can either be completely shut up so that you don't get any air coming through it, or you can take down the solid panel and get a mesh panel, which is still painted camouflage. Or if you want to be able to shoot through that specific window, all of the mesh can be taken off. It's all velcroed in place. Or the main shooting windows also have a hole sewn into them, so you can shoot through there. Now, the mesh is what they call shoot-through mesh. But you have to have either you're supposed to use a solid broadhead, where my broadheads that I've been using are collapsible or mechanical broadheads on my crossbow. And then of course also for the gun, they got the hole there so you can put a firearm out it, not shoot through the mesh with a firearm. So either way, I'm all very excited about it. I'm excited about not having to climb up in a tree while it's dark, and that she'll be willing to come and sit out there with me.
More than willing.
She also got some very nice folding chairs that go with it. So
they're
that'll be
comfy
nice.
and have a
they're camp
tall
chairs.
back, and
Yeah.
but they're collapsible.
Yeah. And you even the back will fold down in a way where you can sit on it more like a stool.
Yeah.
So if the back is in your way because you're wanting to twist or something, you can get that folded down out of your way. But if you're out there and you're going to be sitting for a while and you want to relax just a little bit, it can give you a little bit of that lumbar support.
And it'll collapse down so far that it's got a strap that you can put up over your shoulder too. And I got him a limb saw that hopefully will work or double as a bone saw too.
Yep. Still interested in getting something that's more rated for being a bone saw, but this is something that we have a folding saw already, but it has been used on trees and whatever else, and this is something we can use to say it's for kitchen purposes only.
Yeah.
So it'll be nice.
At least in the
around.
meantime.
Yep. But in the meantime, we've still got a lot of ham to go through
Yes.
before we can bother putting any deer away. But with the way the weather's going, we probably won't be putting deer away for a month or more anyway.
This is true. It's not cold enough yet for the deer really to be out when we want to be out.
Yep. All right, Mama, last chance for a question before we have to wrap things up.
The
Yeah.
the chat's been dead.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
They've been watching, but the chat's been dead.
I know it hasn't been a terribly exciting show, and I was yawning through the entire thing, so I apologize for that. But thank you to all of those who stuck it out and were with us tonight. We'll get through the seasons of football and The Walking Dead, and we'll get back up to having 200 viewers a night like we used to have when we first got started.
Here we go. Does the video for our deer cameras come straight to your computer?
No, it goes to an SD card, and then you bring the SD card and put that in your computer, and then it records it to what's the file format is called AVI. It's playable by Windows Media Player, I'm sure, Apple Movies or whatever the heck it is, over QuickTime, whatever it is that's on Apple computers will play it just fine too.
And your Camtasia will convert it to MP4.
Yeah. Basically, for each of the cameras we have 2 SD cards. So there's always the SD card. Like, say I went out there right now, I would have an SD card in my hand. I take the one out, I put one in, I bring this in, I load it in my computer, I get everything off of it, and the next time I go have an empty card, go back out and swap them again.
So we don't ever miss 5 minutes of the deer field.
No. So, I mean, really, SD cards have gotten very inexpensive here over the last couple years. So,
Wild turkey?
never seen one on the property, but have seen one within about 2 miles of here. So maybe if we can find a good way to attract them over here, maybe we'll get them one day. But
favorite game camera?
The Browning Strike Force Elite. It's in the description below. There's a link there that if you click it, we'll get a little credit for mentioning them to you. So, Browning Strike Force Elite.
And everyone enjoyed the shows. They're really enjoying the slowdown.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. I do appreciate you being part of the show. Make sure you head over to thehomesteadnetwork.com and check out the show times there of all the other participants in the network. Thank you all so much for watching.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.